Before we get started with the actual stitching, there are a few things we need to cover. It could be in the form of a review or whatever you would call it, but it's very important. Part of good lacing is the punching. I'll start first by showing you, mostly today we're going to use a 4-prong 1/8 inch punch and a single. These, when you buy them new, they're pretty good, but they probably need some polishing on both sides. So the best way to do that is to get some 600 grit wet dry paper, as you see me doing here, and sharpen and polish both sides. And you keep doing that until it's nice and shiny on both sides. And then we'll go to a piece of cardboard I'm preparing here with white jeweler's rouge. Now I'll first apply the jeweler's rouge to the cardboard, getting pretty good coverage of it. And now I will take my punch and do the same thing. Now you'll notice as there's black marks coming up here, this is metal coming off of the punch. So it's actually polishing and sharpening. You will know as soon as you start punching the value of the work we're doing right now. We will also do that to our single punch. I have here in front of me the things we're going to use to do our punching. Of course, I've got the 2-thonging chisel. I've got a hobby knife, beeswax, very important, and wing dividers. Now, also have the piece of leather we're going to work on. It's also pretty important to tell you that I have here my cutting board, which I prefer the poly board, and I'll first take my hobby knife and take about 1/4 inch chunk off of the 4 corners. This will make it easier for us to lace around the corners. The next thing we'll do is use our wing dividers and put a guideline on. I usually like to go about 1/8 inch or maybe a little bit more in from the edge, and we'll mark our guideline all the way around. To start punching, we'll keep the beeswax handy, and I like to dip in it a little bit. And first thing I want to do is punch the 4 corners. Notice how easily the punch is removed from the leather. This is due to the polishing and the beeswax. After we get the 4 corners in, we can begin punching down the line. Here again, I'll get some beeswax on my punch. I'll start about 1/8 inch from my corner hole. And notice how easily the punch comes back out of the leather. Something else I need to point out to you. You'll notice here we have gone all the way through the leather. We have not gone real deep. We only want to go deep enough to get through the leather. We're not punching holes in the board, just in the leather. After a while, you'll get a feel for it. And not only will it be easier to get your lace punch out, it will make a nice clean hole in the back side. When you get about to here, we want to do a little planning we'll take the punch and make some light marks to see how it's, well, we got lucky. This one's going to come out just perfect. Now we'll just do the same thing over here and go all the way around our project. I'm giving you a close-up here because if you'll notice, then if we do the next punch, it'll come very close to that corner hole. So what I'll do, I'll back it up and I'll only do one more hole here. Then I will take my single punch and I will do two more holes, but I'll space them as best I can so that I get my holes spaced further enough apart, but not causing a problem with our corner hole. You do this every time you come to a corner or an ending. You're either going to stretch out the last few or squeeze the last few punch holes. To attach your lacing needle, it's a good idea to take a little sliver off each side, as you see me doing here, and sort of point your lace. Then turn it over on the back side and come back about, half inch or less, and skive it to a feather edge. Now you're ready to put it into the needle. To insert the leather lace into the needle, take your fingernail and pry open the needle as you see here and slide the lace in past the two prongs, and then with a pliers squeeze it down. Now you can, if you want, lay the needle on your rock or on the board and tap it with the mallet. I prefer to use a pliers. My favorite way to do a splice is to do what I call a wet splice, or in many places it's called a cement splice. What we're going to do, we're going to take our leather lace, we're going to take our very sharp hobby knife or stencil knife, and we're going to very carefully skive the end of the lace. Now, as we get down to this first front end, we want to take it down to a feather edge. Now we'll do the same thing to the other piece. On the other end, we'll take the same distance, usually about an inch or 3/4 of an inch, and we'll skive very carefully the top side. We take the bottom side off of one and the top side off of the other and take it down to a feather edge. And now we're ready to cement the two together. I prefer to use a contact cement, and so we'll just spread some contact cement on each piece. Of course, one on the bottom, one on the top. We'll set them aside for a few moments until they dry, until they're tacky. I have allowed the two pieces to dry until they're tacky, and now it's just a matter of sticking them together. And to make sure we get a very good bond, I will tap it lightly with a mallet. And I would wait a few minutes, but we're all ready to use our lace now. It is also a good idea to condition your lace. Now here I have applied some conditioner to this sheep wool. I just kind of fold it over and then pull my lace through it. And you can do this several times, and then let your lace sit aside to dry for a few moments. This will make your lace lay down better and look better. Any number of conditioners will work. Lexol, 4-Way Care, Aussie Conditioner, Dr. Jackson's Hide Rejuvenator, or even saddle soap. All will work very well for this purpose.